Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today, we are diving straight into a real-world financial mystery that honestly catches thousands of people completely off guard every single year. Let's look at a case study. Meet Mark. We've changed his name, but this is a very real situation. Mark was a marketing manager pulling in a solid $110,000 a year. But unfortunately, Mark got laid off. And here's the absolute crucial detail. He was let go in July, smack in the middle of the calendar year. As you're going to see, that specific timing, it matters way more than Mark, or really anyone in that situation, realizes.
So after the layoff, Mark makes what he thinks is just a totally standard, normal move with his retirement account. But fast forward a few months to February, tax season rolls around, Mark opens his mail, and boom, he gets hit with a massive tax bill he had literally no idea was coming. The amount? Nearly $30,000. No joke. And this wasn't for some weird penalty on a crazy day trading account. This was a bill on money that was already his. Money he'd actually already spent a good chunk of on rent and groceries just trying to survive the job hunt.
Section 1. Mark's massive tax surprise. So what exactly happened? Mark simply called up HR and cashed out his $85,000 401k, assuming it was just the most sensible option available to him at the time.
In his mind, having that liquid cash right there in his bank account was exactly the safety net he needed to protect himself during an uncertain job hunt. We'd all probably think the same thing, right? But this perfectly highlights a stark contrast between our perception of financial safety and the devastating reality of the tax code. By taking that cash out, Mark didn't build a safety net at all. He basically stepped right into a giant trap.
Section 2. Why layoff timing matters. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it illustrates the way U.S. income tax is actually calculated. The system bases your tax burden on your entire year's combined income, added all together.
To put that into perspective, just look at this. Getting laid off in January versus getting laid off in July is night and day. If you lose your job in January, you have very little taxable income baked in for the year. But a July layoff, like Mark's, that means he already had roughly 7 months of a full salary baked right into his taxable income bucket before he made any moves. Whatever he does with his 401k gets stacked right on top of that base. He had a mountain of taxable income before he even touched a dime of his retirement money.
Section 3. Option 1. Cashing out. Okay, let's dive into this and examine the specific mechanics and brutal penalties of Option 1, which is exactly the path Mark chose.
Cashing out feels incredibly appealing when you're stressed about losing your paycheck. But unfortunately, it is almost always the most expensive path you can take. Because Mark was under the age of 59 and a half, his cash out triggered an immediate mandatory 10% early withdrawal penalty from the IRS right off the top. And it definitely doesn't stop there. That entire withdrawal amount is then added to your taxable income for the year. It gets treated exactly as if it were extra salary, and it's taxed at your ordinary income tax rate.
So let's walk through the actual math here. From January up until his layoff in July, Mark had already earned about $65,000 in base salary. Then he adds his $85,000 401k cash out directly on top of that. Suddenly, his total taxable income for the year shoots up to $150,000. This massive jump pushed a large chunk of his money into a substantially higher tax bracket than he ever saw in his normal paychecks. Factor in that mandatory 10% penalty we just talked about, and you can see exactly how the math turns so brutal, so fast.
But wait, why was it a surprise bill in February? Well, here's the final piece to the mystery. When you cash out a 401k, the plan is legally only required to automatically withhold 20% for federal taxes. So 80% goes to Mark, and 20% is withheld. Sounds fine, right? Except for someone in Mark's situation, shoved into a higher tax bracket with penalties piled on top, his effective tax rate on that combined income was way higher than 20%. That automatic withholding wasn't nearly enough. That massive gap between what was withheld and what he actually owed, that is exactly what created the $30,000 nightmare.
Section 4. Option 2. The rollover. Let's shift gears and talk about the path almost every single financial advisor recommends instead, the rollover to an IRA or a new employer's 401k.
A rollover is way simpler than people think, and it totally protects you from the scenario we just outlined. But you've got to know there are 2 ways to do it. The first is a direct rollover. This is the gold standard. It's totally safe, 0 tax, 0 penalty. The money moves directly from your old 401k straight to your new account without ever technically becoming your income. But then you have the indirect rollover on the right. This one is highly risky. With an indirect rollover, they mail a check directly to you, and suddenly you're put on a strict 60-day deadline to deposit it yourself.
This timeline right here shows exactly why the indirect rollover is a trap you really need to avoid. Even if your full intention is to deposit that money into a new retirement account, when the plan sends a check directly to you on day one, they still have to automatically withhold that 20%. So out of an $85,000 balance, you only get a check for $68,000. But here's the catch. To avoid those massive taxes and penalties by day 60, you have to deposit the full 100%, the entire $85,000 into your new account. That means you literally have to source that missing 20% out of your own pocket, temporarily using your personal savings just to bridge the gap. If you miss that deadline, the whole thing gets treated as a taxable cash out anyway.
Section 5. Option 3. Doing nothing. This is a lesser-known alternative for balances generally over $7,000, which is simply leaving the money right there in your old employer's plan.
Weighing the pros and cons here is pretty straightforward. The biggest pro? It buys you time with absolutely zero tax consequences. No countdown clock pressuring you while you figure out your next career move. But the cons definitely add up over the long haul. The real risk is the classic out-of-sight, out-of-mind syndrome. People just forget about these accounts. Fast forward a few years, and you've got scattered retirement funds across multiple old employers, all unmanaged and potentially eating higher fees than you'd pay in a modern IRA. It's a solid short-term parking spot, but definitely a weak long-term strategy.
Section 6. The secret rule of 55. I want to lean in here to reveal that open loop we teased earlier. There's a little-known rule that could have saved Mark thousands of dollars, if only he had been a bit older.
It's called the Rule of 55, and it acts as an incredibly powerful IRS loophole. If you're laid off, or even if you just leave a job, in the calendar year you turn 55 or later, this rule allows you to withdraw from your current employer's 401k, entirely avoiding that massive 10% early withdrawal penalty. You still owe regular income tax, sure, but that automatic 10% penalty is completely wiped out even though you are under 59.5.
But there is a vital caveat you have to remember. This rule only applies to the 401k from the specific job you were just laid off from. It does absolutely nothing for your older IRAs or 401ks from previous employers. Unfortunately for Mark, because he was only in his 30s or 40s, this secret weapon couldn't protect him. But for anyone laid off in their mid-50s, this rule alone is worth thousands, and it's almost never mentioned by HR. Section 7. The final timing mystery. So we've successfully solved the mystery of the $30,000 bill by exploring these different options. But notice that the core issue of layoff timing is still unresolved.
Think about it. We've seen how the combination of his existing July salary, the early withdrawal penalty, and that huge withholding gap created a perfect storm. But the fact that this happened in July instead of earlier in the year is the elephant in the room. Which leaves us with this final burning question. What if Mark had been laid off in January? How drastically would that change the math on his tax bill? And more importantly, what exact timing strategy should he have used to maneuver around a mid-year layoff, assuming he still needed access to some of that cash? We are going to reveal those hidden strategies and crack this final timing mystery in part 2 of this explainer. You definitely won't want to miss it. Reference to what he owed the IRS. Well, today we're doing a full post-mortem on that timing trap. And honestly, more importantly, we're going to lay out exactly what Mark actually should have done.
Okay, here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The mid-year timing trap. 2. What Mark should have done. 3. The hidden severance trap. And 4. The 5-step framework. Don't worry, by the time we finish up here, you're going to have the exact, definitive order of operations you need to survive a layoff without wrecking your retirement.
Section 1. The mid-year timing trap. Okay, let's dive into this. We really need to investigate exactly why the specific month on the calendar when you get that layoff notice completely rewrites the financial math of a 401k withdrawal. To really wrap our heads around this, I want you to think of the U.S. federal income tax bracket system kind of like a giant set of building blocks. Every single dollar you earn from January 1st onward is a block that just stacks right on top of the last one. And as your stack of income gets taller and taller throughout the year, it crosses these invisible thresholds into higher, more expensive tax brackets. Basically, the taller the stack, the more expensive those top blocks become to tax. Make sense? And this brilliantly illustrates the timing trap we're talking about. Look at this. If Mark had been laid off in February, his base income stack for the year would have only been about $18,000. Stacking his $85,000 401k cash out on top of that keeps a huge chunk of it safely down in the lower tax brackets. But compare that to his actual July reality. He'd already built a base salary stack of $65,000. Dropping that exact same $85K cash out on top of that taller base, it pushes his top dollars into significantly higher, way more punishing brackets. So what does this all mean?
The core insight you've got to take away from this section is that it's not just about if you decide to cash out a 401k, it is entirely about when in the year the rest of your income already happened. Someone laid off in January is in a fundamentally different tax position than someone laid off in November. Mark's July timing, it put him in the absolute worst-case middle. He had enough prior income stacked up to be incredibly dangerous to his tax brackets, but there were still plenty of months left in the year for him to potentially find a new job and stack even more income on top before December.
Section 2. What Mark should have done. All right, let's pivot away from the crime scene for a second here. Let's look at the counterfactual timeline and examine the smarter rollover move Mark completely missed while he was sitting there in July stressing about his rent.
So the crucial point is the sheer contrast between the utter disaster of an all-or-nothing cash-out versus doing a targeted IRA withdrawal. The smartest move Mark could have made was a direct rollover into an individual retirement account or an IRA. When you do a direct rollover, you pay zero taxes and zero penalties on the transfer. Nothing. It moves the entire balance to safety. Then, and only then, if you genuinely need the cash, you take it from there.
$15,000. I really want you to focus on this exact number. Rather than cashing out the whole shebang, this is the targeted amount Mark actually needed to withdraw from that new IRA to just cover a few months of living expenses while he hunted for a job. If he had only withdrawn this specific amount, he would have only owed taxes and penalties on this little $15,000 slice.
Now, what's really interesting about this is what happens to the rest of the money. $70,000 remains. By only withdrawing exactly what he needed to survive, this remaining 70 grand just stays invested. It remains completely untouched by taxes. It keeps growing, doing exactly what it's supposed to do, just waiting for his actual retirement decades down the line.
As Mark ultimately realized, the hard way, unfortunately, it's a radically different tax outcome. Just by separating the amount you need right now from the amount that should stay invested, you solve the emergency cash need without triggering a catastrophic tax event. Mark basically treated his entire life savings as one single panic decision, when he should have separated it into what I need today versus what I need in 30 years.
But wait, there is another massive piece to Mark's story that we haven't even factored into the math yet. What about the severance package? Yeah, this is a hidden multiplier to the tax bomb that almost nobody ever connects back to their 401k decisions.
Section 3. The Hidden Severance Trap. Let's move to this and see how it builds by looking closely at the 8 weeks of lump sum severance Mark received in his final July paycheck. Remember our building blocks metaphor from earlier? Well, let's look at Mark's final income stack for the year. Block 1, his 65 grand base salary earned all the way through July. Block 2, his 8 weeks of severance, paid all at once as regular taxable income. Block 3, that massive $85,000 401k cash out. All three of these completely separate income sources landed in the exact same tax year. They stacked directly on top of each other, pushing his top dollars into painfully high brackets. Ouch.
So, here is an incredibly powerful, intensely practical tip if you are ever negotiating an exit package. Just ask your employer if the severance can be spread across 2 calendar years instead of paid out in one massive lump sum. Seriously. If you get laid off late in the year, say October or November, splitting that severance income across December and January divides that block of money into 2 entirely different tax years. It prevents your income stack from getting dangerously tall in a single year, which can literally save you thousands. I know it's an emotional time, but this is a completely reasonable request to make.
Section 4. The 5-step decision framework. Okay, we've seen how this goes horribly wrong. Now I'm going to give you an actionable checklist to make it go right.
After Mark was hit with that brutal tax bill, he finally sat down with a fee-only financial advisor to figure out what the heck he'd missed. And eventually, when he switched jobs again later on, he executed a direct rollover perfectly on an old, smaller account. He learned firsthand that speed and panic are exactly what turn a hard situation into an incredibly expensive one. The urge to just grab the cash feels so responsible when you're scared, but it is almost always the single most expensive move you can make.
So here is your framework. Step 1. Calmly figure out your actual cash need for the next few months, not the full account balance. Step 2. Execute a direct rollover of the entire 401k into an IRA. Listen to me on this. Never let them write the check to you personally, or you'll get slammed with an automatic 20% withholding tax trap. Step 3. If you genuinely need cash, withdraw only that targeted amount from the new IRA. Step 4.
If you happen to be 55 or older in the year of the layoff, check if the rule of 55 applies to your employer's plan before you move a single dime, because an immediate IRA rollover might actually forfeit a special penalty exception. And step 5. Ask to structure any severance across calendar years to protect those tax brackets. You follow this order, you stay completely in control.
The bottom line is this: a layoff is stressful enough without a 5-figure tax bill ambushing you months later. Avoiding Mark's fate isn't about being ultra-wealthy, and it's certainly not about having access to secret financial tricks. It is entirely about sequence and strategy. Your 401k doesn't magically disappear when you lose a job, but a massive chunk of it absolutely will if you don't make your decisions in the right order.
I want to leave you with this to think about. Look at your own timeline. If you've ever been through this, what month were you laid off? Or, heaven forbid, if you were to lose your job tomorrow, given the income you've already stacked up this year, how dangerous would a panicked withdrawal be to your retirement? Let me know in the comments how the timing would have affected your specific situation. Stay focused, protect your stacks, and I will see you in the next explainer.